Hey you guys, I know some of you are pretty far ahead of me with kids that are older, and you're also interested in knowing or understanding how I plan far out in advance. So this is what the video is about, and I'm going to use high school transcripts as an example. I have a very, very early draft transcript for a reason that I shall explain, because I think the first question is, well, if your kid is in 5th grade now, what are you doing planning for high school? The number one reason is there is hardly anything out there for me to use. There is so little for a mom who is interested in teaching as many of the subjects as she can, and that go really in depth on how to do that per course, how to balance all of the courses, how to make each year count, how to not crush the kid, how to not go too light. There's just not a lot out there, and I am very interested in doing it myself. So this is how I plan long term, and I think that's the only way that I will get there personally as a homeschool mom. If I'm going to teach high school, I need to start planning now, because I need some time for myself to do the planning. So I shall explain with my multitude of notes here. But before I give you the whole list of the whys and all these really kind of things that are on my mind, I want to show you this. This is the very early transcript. So I got this from flandersfamily.org. I'll show you. I'll link it, because it's also where I get my calendar years that a couple of you asked about, because I color them in and you wanted to know where I got them. And it's from the Flanders family online. She's really nice and provides a free transcript and free calendars. And then you guys have seen this before, and I changed it. So this was a kind of a balance of things that I wanted Morgan to focus on in high school. And I moved it to planning for her as a planning sheet that she can use to begin to think herself why she's in high school and beyond, why she's doing anything. Because I think that the why needs to be the driving factor. So I'll walk through all of that. And I want to caveat also that we're all headed in the same direction. We all want the same things for our kids in the very fundamental manner of we want the best for them, and we're all getting there in different ways. This is just my way. And I've said it before that my way is my right way. It's not your right way. But if you can take anything from this, take it and chuck all the rest. It matters not. I'm not a tutorial, and this isn't a how-to, but it is simply the things that are on my mind that I am sure at least a couple of you, I know because I'm in conversation with you, are really interested in as well. So if anybody can take anything from this, take it. It's yours. I think planning now for me also means that I have a lot of time to make my own mistakes, to be a rookie about it, of, you know, a month or so or a year from now, I roll my eyes at myself going, well, what was I thinking? I want to have that thought now. Or when Morgan's in the 6th grade or 7th grade or 8th grade, I don't want to have that thought in the 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade. So I want to have that room for myself to make errors. I want to have the room and the time to develop curriculum for Morgan that she's interested in. And I'm kind of going at this with sort of a crystal ball theory, that I have an idea of some of the things that Morgan is and or will be interested in. But I also don't want to stymie that. So I will go into that in the transcript, that I'm not just going to assume that because she doesn't like a certain science, she's not going to need the science or not going to want it later. So I'll kind of go into that when I show you the transcript. And I have my own personal academic requirements that I need to meet personally for myself. If I'm going to do biology with lab, chemistry with lab, physics with lab, electronics with lab, except the electronics thing I'm going to get away with because my husband's going to do that. But if I'm going to do these things and they're going to count, they're going to be professional, serious high school courses, I need to do a little prep and a little planning myself and a lot of studying myself as well. Now is the time that I want to do that. I don't like to leave it to the last minute. And my final note before I turn the camera around and show you the transcript and walk you through my thoughts there per each year. I have noted slow is smooth, smooth is fast. So you've heard me say this before. I really believe that, especially for really difficult classes, and a difficult class for you could be English, or it could be some science, but not all science, or it could be math. But I really believe that for Morgan, if she has a difficult course coming that I'm predicting is going to be difficult. If I know that now, I have a lot of time to prepare, do very slowly, slow as smooth, smooth as fast, to bring her into physics, to bring her into chemistry, to do the, or philosophy, to introduce her to those things now so that we are prepared. The course is fun and challenging and robust, but maybe something that would have been really tough is no longer difficult because we have methodically made our way to that gate. And that's my mindset with the things that I do with Morgan, or with me when I do something, when I know something's going to be really tough and I've got a year to prep it. If I prepare, it could still be tough, but not as tough as it would have been if I hadn't done some planning and some studying myself. So that's sort of where I'm coming from here. So I'll show you the transcript and what I'm thinking. You guys have seen this before, and I used it to kind of give you an idea of how I want to get to a well-roundedness and overall well-being for Morgan, where her studies start to tie in to everything that she's learning. So this was something that I had shown you before. This is sort of where we are now, and I want to get to here. But I took this and I changed it because this was helpful for me. And these are things that I want to keep in mind that are going to continue to drive the transcript and to drive what I do with Morgan. In fact, this is really written for her. You can see we've got some of our mottos here, how we do homeschool, and the things that I want to think about while I'm doing the transcript and things that Morgan needs to think about. Always a love of learning. Always ask why. I think it's really, if a kid doesn't know why they're learning, then the learning is wasteful. When she gets to high school, I want her to think for herself when it comes to what is important to her immediately and in the short, mid, and long term. And you know, no high school kid, I think, can think very long term, but it's fun to talk about with her and give her ideas. This kind of comes along with the idea of problem-based learning and figuring things out yourself, and that is to determine your own resources. If you know the resources that you need, then you can begin to acquire the resources and also do a self-assessment of, well, where am I? Where have I come from? Where do I need to get to? And the way I plan is also the way I teach Morgan to plan. And so this really plays into long-term planning. And the long-term plan can always change. It doesn't matter. But it's the point that we are working towards something, a goal, something that is important to Morgan. It's not just high school is important, but what is it about within high school that makes it important for her, that makes her want to come to the table every day, that makes the sciences important, that makes math important, etc. You can see where I'm going with this, but frequently we forget to not just check in with our kid about what is of interest to them. Children are starkly aware of their likes and dislikes, and that is okay for those things to drive direction, to allow me to pivot and still get our requirements done and have I think, a robust school. And I think also it's important to show you, you've seen these before, and you can get these, you can do whatever you want with your own high school checklist, but I like to have this on hand to see what is required now, what are the basic requirements, to just kind of jog my thoughts and where I need to go. Because ultimately, this transcript that I'm building is going to help me begin building, and this one I think, let's see, I had shown you the pre-freshman course, but these are a couple of other courses that I'm starting to build. Critical Thinking 2, Theory Distillation, and I'm already ripping it apart. I've got notes, etc. And it's funny because writing up the transcript really helps me place certain courses into certain years, which is exactly what I need to do. Because if I see everything on paper, then I'll know, oh, well, that's way too hard. That's going to crush her in this grade, or we're going to burn out and not be able to do enough in a certain either a category or in the year. And I certainly don't, my whole point is not to kill my kid with academics. It's essentially to get her to drive her own academics and therefore her own career. And so those are already something I'm kind of tweaking and changing. With this transcript, I really did take care to not assume what Morgan's preferences will be. I don't ever want to assume she won't go into a science and therefore softball the sciences, or quit on her math progression because I see her going into the arts. That would be a serious mistake on my part, and really something I would not want to do to Morgan. Kids change. What she's strong at now may not be even what she cares to do later. So I've really kind of maintained as much of a overall balance where no one thing is weighted over the other. Here we have geometry, and there's the assumption that Morgan will have already had, down here she will have had 2.5 credits from 8th grade. So there will be Algebra 1 in her 8th grade future, and then French 3. And I really only want to count one language. She's starting French 1 in the 6th grade, but I think it's inappropriate to count a high school course so early on. Part of the reason is because there's so many young children who want to take a high school course that it's not necessarily a high school course, because if you take French 1 when you're in the 9th grade, you're going to have a completely different conversation with your teacher than if you're taking French 1 in the 6th grade. So her French 3 is really the only language that's going to count for high school, and that's an 8th grade course for her. And Algebra 1, that will count. So we will start with geometry, and then 10th grade Algebra 2, 11th grade pre-calculus, 12th grade calculus. This is the minimum. If Morgan hits algebra earlier than that, then I don't know, I guess I won't count algebra, then I'll just count geometry over here in 8th grade, and then Algebra 2 will move over here, pre-calculus over here, Calc 1 and Calc 2. I don't know. We can do that. That's an option. And if you watched my long-term math video, you'll kind of see that there's options there. But at the very minimum, I want Morgan to have calculus. I want her to get there. So here we have French 4. So Morgan will have had, she's starting French 1 in the 6th grade, French 2 in the 7th grade, 3 in the 8th grade, and French 4. And this is with the Well-Trained Mind Academy. They max out at 5, French 5. So she'll have French 4, French 5, and then here in the 11th grade, French Private Studies 1 and French Private Studies 2. So I'll explain. The Well-Trained Mind Academy takes you up to high school French 5, and my plan is to get Morgan there by the 10th grade. But I don't want her French career or her French studies to stop there in the 10th grade. I really want this to be a lifelong thing for Morgan. Therefore, my plan here is for Morgan to take over or to take on a private tutor whereby she will continue to study for a DELF, the Diplôme d'études en langue française, which I have a video for that. So if you're interested in what that means, it's essentially a certificate by the French Department of Education. And I want her, no matter what level she gets to, I want her to study towards those exams. And then I have a place marker here for Arabic because Morgan said that she's interested in, after French, I'd like her to take a 3rd language. And she's interested in Arabic, Italian, and unfortunately, she doesn't want to do the other languages that are easier for me to get a course for. I placed Arabic here because I've been listening to her play with Duolingo and Arabic, and one of my friends is on there with her as if you know Duo, you know that you can see your friends and push each other, and one of my best friends does that with her, and so I think that that's why she's become interested in Arabic. That could change, and this would be Arabic 2 or Language 2. I could put Language 2 here because I would like her to start her 3rd language in the 8th grade. And here we have World Lit 1, World Lit 2, and then the literature disappears into other categories, but it is there. And here we have Critical Thinking 1 freshman paper, Critical Thinking 2 sophomore paper, Critical Thinking 3 junior paper, and Critical Thinking 4 senior paper. This might change. I might do a 1 and 2 and then move Critical Thinking out of here and simply do a junior and senior level paper and move that back to maybe wording it as world literature or some other kind of literature. I don't know. But these are the literature heavy courses along with World Lit. And then we've got American Studies 1, American Studies 2, and that disappears into other categories down here with civil rights and women's studies. And this I'll talk about. That's one of the most important classes that I'll be giving Morgan. Going back to the 9th grade, we have the Essay 1. And this really does, and I wrote this because I don't want to forget, but it involves creative writing skills that Morgan's already learned. And if you've watched my videos, you know what the green journal is. But this is her creative writing book, and in it, she is learning the art of the essay. She is learning how to write dialogue. She's learning all of those things with me, and I want her to bring in that all of those creative writing skills into her essay. I'm so tired of reading boring essays that I would really like to teach Morgan how to make a thrilling essay, something of interest, something that I will want to read and grade. So this is, the essay part is really all about me. And then here we have essay 2, where we'll delve a little bit deeper. And let's see, what is the equivalent? I don't think there is an equivalent here, but we changed to constitutional law and philosophy and argument. So you can see for yourself here that I also have problem-based learning. There's HAMM license and electronics with lab. All of the sciences have labs, biology with lab for 9th grade, 10th grade, chemistry with lab, physics with lab, and then in the 11th grade, and electronics with lab here in the 12th grade. Before I forget mentioning it, all of these need to have balance. And so I'm going to have some what is referred to as high input, low output. So some of these will be intensive and some of them won't. Some of them will be real high learning, high interest that Morgan can enjoy without a lot of labor. And then other things may be much more difficult or require more work. But overall, I want a good, solid year, something she can put her teeth into. The reason why I move from literature, and I guess I'll need to specify that this is literature, there's ELA in here, there's grammar in here. I'm placing it in her curriculum. It's going into each one of the syllabi where grammar will be required. Likely a lot of it will show up in Essay 1 and Essay 2. The essay, and I think the art of the essay or the lost art of the essay, is really pretty important to me. I want to make sure that I give Morgan the things that she needs to be able to write an essay effectively and quickly, easily. Essays shouldn't be that hard. The hard part comes in holding a person's interest, showing an art to the essay. And I think that comes by reading a lot of essays that we will already be doing. We're starting to do that quite heavily here in going into the 6th grade. We won't be studying excerpts of novels or pieces of an essay or argument. We'll be reading essays and studying them. I think that's the best way to then imitate and emulate. The biologies, and some of you were asking a lot about labs and how I'm going to do that. We have a space for a lab, and I really do plan on having in-depth labs with Morgan. I think lab hands-on work is so important in every subject that I just don't think a textbook is really going to cut it. I know for sure it's really hard to remember complex things that you don't actually see for yourself. And my goal really for sciences is to show Morgan through lab, and then we'll do the coursework as well along with that. And I think that will make some really, really fun, maybe some long days, maybe some long lab days, but that will make some really, really fun classes. And here, HAMM license is kind of interesting in the 12th grade because my husband has a HAMM license. He's a ham radio operator. And I think that HAMM and electronics go really well together. So there's an electronics course that I'm interested in purchasing for Morgan. This is by far going to be the most difficult thing for me in biology because I'm not interested in biology. I'd rather put botany there. I really would. I totally want to put botany there. I think electronics is an interesting and fun thing for any young person to have. And going out for a HAMM license with the assistance of her stepdad and him teaching her electronics, building a radio together, rehabbing a radio together, would be a really, really fun thing to do in the 12th grade together. And quite a challenging course, actually, but I think it'll be fun. And philosophy and argument, I think, is paramount. And this is right here, the philosophy, this is where literature will come in. We'll be reading different types of books here. So that's our literature, really our heavy-based literature for the 12th grade, along with women's studies and probably critical thinking papers. So it's all across here. It's kind of separated out into different categories. Same with civil rights. I've got a lot to read there. Morgan will have a lot of nonfiction there. And critical thinking, I haven't come up with what she's going to read here yet, but this will be a reading heavy as well, and probably con law as well, but that won't be literature, although there are some really good books for con law that are novels. Here for women's studies, this is a huge deal for me in my family. for all of the women in my family, and being able to be a strong, independent, thoughtful woman who knows how to carry herself, who knows how to take care of herself. I want her to understand and know all of the women who struggled before her. That's a personal thing. It's personally important to me, as we all have important things that we want to impart on our children. And for me, that is it. Teaching Morgan how to be a strong, confident woman who walks gently and decisively on this earth. And here down on special awards and activities, I don't have really too many thoughts here, but Morgan loves tennis, so I just jammed tennis in here for 4 years. And she is very interested in the cross-country team coming up in the 7th grade here at school. So I just ran that through there, and maybe any 5-10K races that she wants, debate, whatever. It doesn't matter. These things can be added at any time. And all of these can change. For instance, world literature can be any kind of world literature that we want. So going closer up to the date, I will really have a better idea of the type of world literature that I want to put in here in the first and second part, or switching out Arabic to whatever third language Morgan has chosen. And for American Studies, I know that I need to put that in as a marker. American Studies is important. I don't necessarily know that I need to put U.S. History 1, from 1600 to the Civil War and then Civil War on. I'm fairly certain we won't do that. I think it's boring, but I also know that we absolutely do need to cover U.S. history in some way. And in fact, we are here with civil rights and women's studies. This will be both history and literature combined. And finally, for the 12th grade, I placed philosophy here because I think philosophy is difficult, but it will be easier after critical thinking, after world literature, after reading all of these good works, after understanding more languages and really getting, even constitutional law and civil rights under her belt, to then discuss philosophy. What I would like to do is, this can be a very difficult course. I want to make this difficult but really fun. I want to take some time to do this, and I've already begun developing the syllabus to cover both Western and Eastern, all forms of philosophy. Not everything, but pick and choose so that we're covering a balance of world philosophy and thought. Yeah, so that takes us to 34.5 credits. I'm not sure that the number of credits is all really that important, as long as we are reasonable. That may be a lot. Just because something's hard, I don't think means it shouldn't be done. It's okay if she has hard years. As long as you have breaks and you don't crush your kid, we should be mindful that our children can do a lot, as long as it is of interest to them and something that they can use later. So there you have it, you guys. Another bunch of bright ideas from somebody who looks like they're just winging it right now. But I want to eventually appear as if I know what I'm doing. And the only way I can do that is by planning. And any feedback that you have, or whatever your struggles are too, what you're going through. I know there are some moms out there who are really serious about creating their own curriculum for their kids. So good luck, have fun doing it, and be serious about it. It's fun. It's worth it. See you guys.